Hey guys, so today I'm doing a lunging video because a couple of people have requested it and I find lunging really beneficial and I do it all the time, and honestly I'd be very stuck without lunging. I think people should do it more than they seem to do it. So yeah, I thought I'd make a little video on what I do. So before I actually show the lunging bit, like the videos and stuff and a voiceover, I just want to talk a bit about like lunging and why we do it. And so lots of people lunge their horses just like, I don't know, like not for like a break day or to kind of get rid of a bit of energy or just kind of like, you know, let them chill or whatever. But like I find lunging the complete opposite. Lunging is like an intensive workout. Well, it should be if you're doing it right. Well, right in my opinion. Oh yeah, before I go any further, just a little disclaimer, this is how I lunge and my opinions. Oh, Welbeck, thank you very much. So if you disagree with me or whatever, that is totally okay. You don't need to convince me of your views. This is my opinion, you have your opinion. It's all good. Like, it's obviously going to differ like where you live, who trained you, whatever. This is like every yard I've been to, like this is kind of like the mindset, and then obviously in other countries it might be different. Welbeck, you're being so weird. She's never affectionate. What the hell? Okay, good girl. So yeah, when I'm lunging, I kind of want lunging should progress into your riding. So your horse should behave on the lunge as you would like them to behave when you're riding them. That's why I use saddle, bridle. I would usually use like a whole tack. And then I also use training or lunging aids because obviously you're not on the horse, so you need something to kind of ask them to work. Welbeck, you weirdo, you're ruining this video. Okay, anyway. So when you're lunging, your whip is your leg, basically. So the whip is asking them to move forward, it's asking them to move away from you, it's asking, you can use the whip to ask for more bend, the same as you would use your leg. And your lunge rope is pretty much your inside rein. So if you want to go in a tighter circle, if you want to ask for more bend, if you want to slow them down a little bit, and then obviously your vocal commands are way more important on the lunge than they are riding. Obviously vocal commands are also important when you're riding, but they're more important on the lunge because you need to rely on them a lot more. So obviously you should know whoa, and then click or whatever is go faster. I don't want to give her a fright. And then also we have different, I was taught like different whip cues for different gaits. What are these called? Trot, canter, whatever they're called. And so just a normal flick would be to go to trot, and then for canter I usually like swoosh it. That's a great word. So yeah, you'd probably see it in the video. But like horses like Welbeck, if I did that, she'd probably just gallop off, so I have to do a bit more subtle. Even if the horse is very forward going, I still like to use the whip just because you're more clearer when you're using a whip than if you're just kind of like using your hand or, I don't know, a like rope or something. So yes, that is what I do. Also, when I'm lunging, when I'm lunging with a bridle, I loop it through the bit up over their head and then attach it down this side. Because when you're lunging in a bit, if you just clip it onto the bit, you're going to be pulling it like this, which is a very different action than it would have when you're riding. So I kind of think that when it's over like this, you're getting a more equal pressure on both sides of the mouth. So that's what I think. What else is there to say? Oh yes. So, training aids. This whole shebang with training aids and that. I know a lot of people actually disagree with them. I did not realise this at all because everywhere I've ridden and trained and everyone I know uses lunging aids when you lunge, and then when I started posting a few videos, a lot of people would be like, you're forcing the horse's head down, and I would kindly like to disagree with them. So yes, I use training aids, different training aids for different horses for different reasons. I think if you don't use one and you're just letting the horse trot around in a circle, they're just going to trot around as if they're out in the field with their head up, unless they're a more established horse like Welbeck would be. With Welbeck, if she had no training aid, I'd be able to use the lunge rope as my hand to get her to kind of trot nice and soft, but the majority of horses, especially green ones, will not do that, and that is just, in my experience, they will not. So I use training aids to encourage them to move a certain way, hold a certain position, exercise certain muscles. I'll go through them as, there's two basically that I use. They're Vienna reins or a bungee, and when I'm showing you the video I'll go through why I use each one. But yeah, if you're against using them, like they're not overly tight, I'm not forcing the head. It should never be that the horse's head is stuck in the position, because then they're just not learning at all. You want the tightness to be so that when it's loose, they're in the correct head position, body position, working well, because then that's reward. So it would make no sense if they're working correctly but they still have pressure on their mouth, because then they're being punished for doing what you want. So that's why I don't like when people are saying that I'm forcing the horse's head, because I'm really not. I'm so against that. They're learning nothing, you're punishing them for doing something right, and there's no release. The whole thing with horses is pressure and then release. That is the crux of training them. Well, for the most part, there's obviously a lot more. But yeah, that's what I believe anyway. What else about back? Anything else you want to say on behalf of all horse kind? No, I don't think so. Okay, so I'm gonna jump right into the lunging videos. Welbeck will not actually be the first lunging video, I just realised that, so she's gonna be like probably last, because she is the established horse. I'm gonna move from young to more established. Yes. That's you, Welbeck. You're established. Right, okay, I'll see you guys. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. So first up are these Vienna reins. This is a really old clip of Indy, by the way. I meant to make this video a long time ago and never actually did. So you can see that they go from underneath the girth, there's usually a ring on your girth, to the bit, then it goes through the bit to the D-rings. You can also bring it to, if you have a ring on the side of your girth, so that'll go from the bottom of the girth through the bit to the side, if you want to ask your horse to work a bit lower. Basically what these do is that they teach the horse pressure and release. So you can see that it just runs through the bit, so it doesn't keep the horse in one position. The horse can lift its head up and down because it runs through the bit. So it basically teaches the horse that when they feel pressure on the bit, if they work in a better outline, that the pressure will release. If a horse doesn't know what it means when you put pressure on the reins, like they're just going to fight you, they're going to throw their head up, they're not going to understand. But this will teach them that you want them to soften. And I find it works really, really well. This is how I break horses, everything like that, and they've always worked very, very well. And you can see here when Indy's lunging that the Vienna reins are very loose. She's just trotting around with no contact. She's holding herself. It's all self-carriage. She's not, her head isn't being forced down or tied down in any way. As I was saying, this is really important, because if they still have contact even when they're trotting correctly, it just completely defeats the purpose, Also, I would just want to add in about the raised trotting poles. They are so helpful. Like, I would 100% recommend them if you're trying to work on your horse's top line. When I first got Indy, she couldn't hold a canter lead. She was very, very weak, and then a week solid of doing these trotting poles really, really helped so much. It really helps work in their all their muscles, shoulders, back, hind end, everything. 10 out of 10 would recommend doing this. So yeah, you just set them up as normal trotting poles, and then I would trot them over them on the ground first before raising them up, and just make sure that if they do hit the poles will fall. So that's why putting them on wings is very handy, because you obviously don't want them tripping and then it not being able to fall. So yeah, that's what I do with that. With a horse that is, as I was saying, more established, like Welbeck, I use a bungee. I'll put a link to a bungee down below, because I know that's not what it's called everywhere. So if I just put this bungee on a horse that had no idea, a break or whatever, they just kind of run around with their head up in the air. They wouldn't really understand, because it stretches so much. It doesn't really teach pressure and release, because they can just lean into it without any sort of adverse effects or anything like that.
So that's why I do it on horses that do have a mouth, work well in the flat and everything. But what it's really good for is improving their top line and stretching out all their muscle of their back, because it really encourages them to work nice, long and low. And I found it really, really developed Welbeck's top line. Like, her top line is really insane. Her neck is like a stallion. She's not like a mare at all. And yeah, she works very well. She was a bit fresh in this clip, so she wasn't working as well as she usually does. Sometimes she'll trot around with her head like touching the ground, but she was a bit fresh, so she wasn't super cooperative this day. And then I just have a clip from like outside the lunge of me lunging her, and you can see how I'm using the whip. I just keep it pointing at her hocks. That's like just keeping your leg on. What I was saying before about holding the whip no matter what kind of horse you're lunging, it's kind of like, if you can't lunge a horse with a whip because they just keep like galloping off and stuff, that's because they're like afraid of the whip. They shouldn't be afraid of it. They should just respect it and know what it means. The same as your leg. You should be able to put leg on a horse and ask them to move forward. If you can't put your leg on, like, you need to train a horse to accept that, because you're not able to ride a horse properly without putting leg on. Like, you need to be able to put some leg on. So yeah, that's what I was saying about, if your horse just, gallops off, whatever, when you hold a whip, I would just recommend desensitizing them to it, kind of like running it over them, rubbing them with it and everything like that, because it really is quite essential. You can't get as sharp cues without it, just like clicking or kind of throwing the rope. It's not very precise. So you can see there, I flick the whip to ask her to canter, and then she knows what whoa means. But if your horse isn't very good at whoaing when you ask, I would just put some extra pressure on the rope, make the circle a bit smaller. And also when you're riding, I'd incorporate, say, whoa before you ask them to stop with the reins, and they will learn that whoa means stop. Like, most horses don't want to just gallop around the lunge forever. Like, they will get tired eventually. So yeah, that's kind of it. If you have any other questions, then please just let me know in the comments. So these are the two main ways I lunge, and I found them super helpful. I found them really help when you're transitioning to the flat work and training them on the flat. I will have a video on how I train a horse into an outline and everything coming up next week, so be sure to subscribe so you will get notified of that, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.